Photosynthesis involves two stages. In this particular video, we are going to focus on the light-dependent reactions in photosynthesis. So, here is the structure of a chlorophyll molecule. So, we have discussed in the previous videos how this resembles that of an amphipathic molecule, such as a lipid. So we can see here the porphyrin ring, which contains the magnesium metal, and this is hydrophilic in nature, while the phytol tail, which contains of a chain of hydrocarbons, would be hydrophobic in nature and would be sort of buried in the membrane of the thylakoid. So we've also distinguished between two types of chlorophyll last time, and found out that chlorophyll A is the one that's the chief chlorophyll among the two, chlorophyll A and B. And then there are some accessory pigments like carotene, which are also found beside chlorophyll, and the main roles of which would be to sort of moderate the amount of energy, light energy, that would be absorbed by the chlorophyll molecules to protect them from damage from extreme amounts of light. And here we have the absorption spectrum of these pigments, and we can see here how they have different colors because they absorb different colors of, from the spectrum of light. So for example, we see here that for chlorophyll A, it absorbs the colors of light that are violet or red in color, as we can see from the peaks for chlorophyll A. Okay? And for chlorophyll B, it absorbs actually more of a bluish color of light and a little bit of orange, and we can see that it's yellow-green in color as compared to the blue-green color of chlorophyll A. And the carotenoids absorb mostly violet, blue, and a bit of green and reflect the rest of the colors, thus appearing orange. And we've also learned of the action spectrum of chlorophyll and these pigments. And the action spectrum was found out based on the measurement of the amount of oxygen gas that has evolved from a photosynthesizing algae like Spirogyra, as we see here. And if we superimpose the absorption and the action spectra, we can see that it's chlorophyll A that coincides with the peaks of the action or the production of oxygen. So therefore, it must be the main pigment in photosynthesis in plants. Now here's a diagram of a summary of photosynthesis. Both the light-dependent reactions, also known as light reactions, and the light-independent reactions, or the dark reactions, are shown here. So we can see that it all begins with light hitting a photosystem, as we see here in green. And in summary, light energy or photons are used to indirectly split water apart. So as we can see here, water enters early on in photosynthesis in the light reactions and is split, and oxygen gas evolves as a waste product. So what happens to the rest of water? Well, the hydrogens are brought out into the stroma, as we see here. Okay? And it's used to power this ATP synthase that we see here, which produces ATP, which is later on used in the dark reactions. Okay, and we also see the electrons here from the water, which goes through an electron transport chain, just like in cellular respiration. And the electrons are eventually passed to NADP. Okay, this is the version of NAD in photosynthesis that is a carrier of electrons and is a source of a reducing power that will be used later on as it becomes NADPH in the carbon fixation cycle or the Calvin cycle, where carbon dioxide is used this time and is reduced to become sugars. And that will be the food of the plant, and that's the final product of photosynthesis. So, in the light reaction, the chlorophyll are actually arranged in light harvesting complexes, as we see here. Okay, so light photon actually is passed or absorbed by a chlorophyll molecule, thereby causing the electrons of that chlorophyll molecule to get excited, and the electrons are passed from one chlorophyll molecule to another until it reaches a reaction center, a special type of chlorophyll molecule, which will also eventually lose an electron. So that electron that's lost, as we see here, okay, so this is the light harvesting complex, okay, and the first one is in photosystem 2. So take note of that. It's not in the first photosystem, it's in photosystem 2. That reaction center is known as P680 because it absorbs that wavelength of light. Okay? And as it absorbs that particular energy, it actually loses an electron and it becomes P680 plus in the process. And because it lost an electron, it's going to be getting an electron from somewhere else, and that somewhere else is water. Now, can you imagine how strong of an electron getter, an electron hog P680 is? It's so strong that it's even able to pull away electrons from water, and that requires a lot of energy. Okay? So, P680 plus pulls electrons from water, thereby breaking water into the hydrogens, which will be later on used for powering the ATP synthase, and the oxygen, which becomes the oxygen gas, which becomes a waste product. And then through an electron transport chain, these electrons are passed on to photosystem 1, okay, where another photon of light is used to get a reaction center, this time P700, to become excited and lose an electron. Okay? And that lost electron is passed, as we see here, okay, to NADP+, which becomes NADPH, which is going to be used later on as a reducing power in the production of sugar from carbon dioxide. And that's the role of the light-independent reactions, okay, or the dark reactions. So, it's actually quite straightforward, okay? Just a few things to remember here and there, okay? And take note that water is split to become oxygen, and the hydrogens are used to power ATP synthase, which makes ATP, which is the energy needed to do the carbon fixation, while the electrons of water are passed to NADPH to form NADPH, which will be the reducing power in carbon fixation, which uses carbon dioxide to be fixed or reduced to become sugars.